In the past few years, game developers have presented an unyielding fear of skirts. It's gotten quite silly, so I'd like to talk about it. Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Dai here. Yes, fear the skirt. That's the sentiment that seems to rub off on me most, from the way game companies in their respective ethics departments have been treating their content. The two most recent cases are, of course, Tifa from the Final Fantasy VII Remake suddenly wearing spats under her skirt, and the transformation of Jill's miniskirt into a skirt, on top of her classic outfit being relegated to a pre-order bonus. In both cases, the presented reasoning seems to be about making things more practical for the female heroes, who are undoubtedly found in action-oriented situations. Now, let's not get petty. These changes are indeed quite small. They're not game-breaking by any means. It's not like spats or skirts are unattractive either. I appreciate how Chie from Persona 4 wears spats, knowing she's gonna be throwing high kicks. Kanbaru Suruga from Monogatari wears them too, and in that context she's quite lovely. That said, the way game developers have been altering classic designs does raise concerns about why a bit of undies demands so much realism in games that literally have magic and the characters get struck by rockets and explosions without losing all of their limbs. Let's be honest, far less realistic games have had the same fear of skirts. The more recent Smash Bros. Games have opted to cover up all female skirts or replace them with vacuous dark voids, when in previous entries it was never an issue, which is weird since none of them were all that revealing to begin with. No granny panties for you! Star Ocean integrity and faithlessness likely also suffered from Square Enix's ethics department. During development, the character Miki was confirmed to have her ordinary undies swapped out for much larger ones. Now, this is exceptionally petty, but that's really the point, isn't it? The devs confirmed they gave her more clothing to avoid flack from overseas consumers, as if such tiny changes really make much difference. The same silliness recently hit with Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. To appease the esports crowd, the devs turned Zeta's bottom into the tiniest spats imaginable, a change so small I couldn't tell at first without a direct comparison. You might say that it's petty for fans to complain about such a small change, but by that very same token, I ask why devs and censors are so concerned over barely an inch of cloth. All of this came to a head when the latest entry in the Hatsune Miku Project Diva series featured a glitch that allowed skirts to, well, you know, actually act like skirts. Screenshots were taken after the game's release, depicting the skirts reasonably flying up when characters jumped up and down during their dancing. Naturally, Sega was quick to demonstrate their horror, patching it out almost immediately. This begs the question, why is it so horrible to see up a skirt? The obvious claim is objectification, that if people get that view, they'll be so fixated on it that they won't respect a character's agency. I hear it all the time, folks trying to protect the personhood of a fictional character, as if a bit of upskirt is suddenly going to ruin everything about them. I've said it before, but seeing Tifa's pantsu in no way demeans her character, in no way takes away from her strength or agency. The way she was depicted in Dissidia, for instance, has never been an issue. As the Dead or Alive series will show us quite clearly, sometimes when you're kicking ass, a skirt is inevitably going to fly up and show some undies. A camera, in pursuit of the most dynamic or efficient angle, might happen to swoop beneath a skirt. And you know what I have to say? So what? It's literally nothing we haven't seen before. If you go to the beach, it's commonplace for women to wear the exact same amount of clothing, or less. Heck, even children wear bikinis these days, and yet suddenly putting a skirt over that makes it less appropriate? Needless to say, our presumed morals on such things are contradictory at best. It sucks, too. Let's not forget that likely the most successful and popular children's cartoon of all time features a character who frequently walks around in nothing but his underwear. You can say that's fine since he's a sponge, but that argument falls apart the moment I'm forced to see Patrick's plumber's crack. It's gross, disgusting, and horrendous to me, and yet I had to tolerate it all my childhood, only for people to freak out the instant I see someone in their undies that I actually liked. It's as though the only determinant factor is whether people are aroused or not, which, I hate to break it to you, is impossible to avoid. Thanks, Rule 34. So yeah, for some reason, it's okay or even funny when a man or someone ugly trounces around exposed, practical or otherwise, yet women usually aren't afforded the same luxury. It's a double standard. As much as you think this protects women, I'd like to counter and suggest that this Puritan attitude actually condemns women more than anything. It's actually sending the message that women shouldn't be allowed to wear certain things or behave in certain ways exclusively because others might find it attractive. Women in skirts aren't allowed to throw kicks, perform gymnastics, spread their legs, or so much as jump. Honestly, some of the most tense and exciting moments I've seen in anime, games, and media in general come from scenarios in which the characters have much bigger issues to deal with than who sees their undies. Situations where women are caught when they're vulnerable and have to set their vanity or humility aside in order to survive. The most iconic example is Ellen Ripley in the film Alien. After thinking the xenomorph that's been trying to kill her died in the destruction of the Nostromo, Ripley disrobes in her escape pod to prepare for cryosleep. It's in this moment that she discovers the damn alien managed to sneak on board. You think she's worried about the Xenobuddy, or anyone else for that matter, getting a glimpse of her in this moment? Heck no, she's worried about surviving. Are there viewers out there who are turned on by Sigourney? Of course, but that ain't her fault. Then there's the scene from Street Fighter II: The Animation, in which officer and badass fighter Chun-Li is attacked in her hotel room after showering. Vega, with his claws, tears into Chun-Li's flesh, drawing blood and shredding what little she has to wear to begin with. No doubt he, and perhaps some viewers, find this arousing in a cinematic way, but again, that's not Chun-Li's fault. It's more important that she kicked the living crap out of Vega's face, and she's commendable for doing so. We've also got Amane Suzuha from Steins Gate Zero, who also steps out of the shower to find herself in mortal peril. In her most vulnerable state, she is left to fight and subdue her attacker, putting any potential embarrassment aside for a more important goal. What are we gonna say? Tough luck for getting attacked in the nude. Or a woman shouldn't fight back. What if someone were to see her panties? Oh my god! How horrible. It's the same attitude that causes people to shame or belittle gymnasts or athletes who wear sports bikinis or spandex. Eventually, we're just going to have to get used to seeing people's bodies and stop pretending it's anything to be afraid of. To be fair, creators and artists should never have to show undies or make skirts realistically fly up. Again, it is practical to wear spats or skirts, and even if it weren't, you can still have skirts that defy physics magically to never show beneath them. Rumiko Takahashi, the creator of Inuyasha, for instance, requested that for the anime, they never show Kagome's underwear, no matter how rough her actions. It's a reasonable request. Her undies aren't a critical part of her character, and the author doesn't want them to be a huge focus. Yet, at the same time, I find it strange to avoid showing them at all cost. Does it also mean that Kagome could never wear a swimsuit? Basically, there's a difference between pointing a camera right beneath a skirt and showing the occasional, realistic moments a skirt may fly up. Taking this back to Final Fantasy and Resident Evil, seeing a bit of undies during combat, or while Jill crawls on the ground, shouldn't undermine their life or death struggles. Nor should the presence of spats or skirts, but it's the idea that these devs are too afraid to show otherwise that's the biggest issue. The fact that people find women attractive should not be used as a reason for limiting their autonomy. And since these skirts were never skirts before, changing them now is almost certainly a cop-out or reaction of fear. Again, don't get me wrong, the Final Fantasy VII Remake has absolutely every reason to become one of the best games of all time, spats or otherwise, but we as a society honestly need to stop getting our panties in a bunch over, well, the sight of panties. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this channel, help me beat the algorithm by liking, commenting, and sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and, most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of my anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content. If you want to support me directly, there are now 3 ways that all provide the same benefits. You can click join here on YouTube, or join Patreon or Subscribestar for access to exclusive vids and early access. As always, celebrate your fandom.